Ladies and gentlemen, cost of living is very high in Singapore, I know, right? To each Singaporeans, we siong. But do you know, Ang Mo can die, Yeah, they can die in Singapore. Let's watch on, shall we? So the background of this video is actually in response to an Australian family that's staying in Singapore. That news came out and he actually described how much money he needs to make in order to have a decent living in Singapore, and the number is an astonishing number. And I didn't know that that's for expat, for them to survive in Singapore is really very xiong. Okay, jin cham, jin cham. So let's not pretend that in Singapore, our cost of living is easy for Singaporeans, right? There was a research report by NTU and Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, and they actually researched and found that in Singapore, in order to have a decent basic standard of living, is $6,700. Okay, $6,700 for a family of four. That's actually quite xiong. That's only for basic living, right? Now, for most of us, we know that that number is around there. It's around there. I know there's a lot of people, maybe even politicians, trying to describe that, maybe some of it is good to have, some of it is don't need to have, that kind of thing. But we know it's roughly around there. But it's called basic living. I think the situation is quite different. This man who is an expat in Singapore, the whole family has 4 person. He actually say that we need $300,000 for them to have a basic living in Singapore. Then when I saw the number, I was like, wow, how to get that kind of number for average people? Why expat so high? In Singaporeans, only about 6,700. Wow, when it comes to expat, it's so high, is it? What, they eat crab every day and they drive Lamborghini or something like that? Why you need Sapa Ching? Really, seriously? So I didn't quite believe $300,000 a year. Now, before everybody thinks that all Ang Mohs, all expats, all overseas people who come in as expat, earns a lot of money. Actually, no, a lot of them come at local pay already, okay? But let's take a look at the details, shall we? And see whether really needs $300,000 or not. So the two biggest costs of living that they have to kena very xiongly is actually number one, rental, okay? So for him, a family of four, they rent a 3-bedroom condominium unit, and he specifically say this is not within the city, and neither is it at the fringe that's near Malaysia, but this is an average condo unit, and that would actually takes about $6,000 a month for rental, about 72,000 a year, and actually that is quite fair. Most of the condo rental right now for 3-bedroom, I think hovers around there, depending on where you stay. Those in the city, a lot more. Those away from city, somewhat less, but 6,000, none of us will disagree that there is an inflated number. $72,000 a year is a reasonable number. And most of us who stay in HDB, we won't cannot this kind of cost. And I'm not even sure those people who buys a condo, your monthly mortgage will hit that high as well, unless you buy one really atas one. So this gentleman is called Jared. So Jared has 2 children. Each of them went to international school, and that's an easily $48,000 per year. Okay, $40,000, so it's about $4,000 a month, and that amounts up to $96,000 a year. So almost $100,000 for education for their children. That's a lot, right? Most of us will pay that sum of money. Okay, that we have to thank the highly subsidized education and high quality education that the MOE actually given for all of us. And we now have to be aware that actually for foreigners, they pay a substantial amount, right? About $4,000 per child. That's a hell lot, right? So these two add together is already about $170,000 already. Some of us don't even make $170,000 a year, right? So Jared then went on to project the cost of utilities, $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month is quite humble. I remember he said something about power bills about $200+ a month only, right? I think my household, the electric bill and water are really close to $300+ already. So it's actually quite reasonable. The transportation is about $1,200. $1,200 means it's about $100 a month. Seems on the low side actually. And then insurance about $1,000. I think they need health insurance and all this. Some of you all actually pay more than $1,000, I know. So these are very reasonable estimates, right? So actually it's very frugal, very, very frugal already. He's not extravagant, right? This is seriously good financial planner, and he's actually know his stuff. So a few other things he add up to the list, and then he estimate about $220,000 for this case study, right? So that's quite a fair estimate, but they also got to retire, and he actually put some money into savings for his retirement, and that savings or retirement work out about 20% of a gross income. Now, 20% of gross income, I don't know this Ang Mo got CPF or not. Our CPF is about 37% savings. So if he saved 20%, is actually quite low already, quite low. So 20% savings is actually on the low side. So again, he's not being crazy about his estimates. Right? It's very conservative already. And then he talked about, he have to save some money, not extravagant money for holiday expenses and all this, but he really don't do much. For example, dinner outside, maybe once or twice a month or something like that. I think I have outside dinner more than he does. He came to the conclusion after factoring the cost and a 20% savings, which are all very reasonable estimates, he needs to make $320,000 to $333,000 a year. That could be make up by maybe a share between husband and wife, or one person work, one person as housewife. You need this humongous number, 300,000 a year. I don't know how many Singaporeans fall into this income bracket of $300,000 a year. That's a substantial number, substantial. And he's not done with the details yet. There's some little things here and there that I don't see him factoring in, And I think these are actually conservative estimate, realistic estimate. So I didn't know, right, for foreigners, for expatriate in Singapore, I always knew that it was expensive. I didn't know it's that expensive. Two things really kill them, right? Education and rentals, right? And the rest of it is just, by the way, kind of a conservative estimate. I have a lot of expatriate friends that are living in Singapore. All of them lament, kaopei, that their lifestyle is so expensive in Singapore, and Singapore is one of the most expensive places on earth. I've always wondered why they kaopei so much. Singapore, actually, our taxis are quite affordable. Our MRTs are quite affordable. Our hawker centers, coffee shop is quite affordable. What's so big deal? Why you living so expensive a lifestyle? Until today, then I realized that their kind of lifestyle, it actually costs a hell lot more than we do, right? So the two biggest items they have to deal with that we generally don't have to is rental and expensive school fees for the kids, expensive education for kids. Are they able to do something about it? If not, their lifestyle is just going to be xiong in Singapore. So what about those expatriates doing such high income? Then how? Well, simple. Don't come. Yeah, you come, you die. Yeah, you come, you die. Singaporeans can survive. You cannot. So expatriates, I need to say, whoever is thinking of coming to Singapore and you don't have such high income, you come, you die. Okay. When I say die, it doesn't mean you die, physically die, but you will struggle terribly financially. Well, there are some things you could do. You first need to have a change of mindset and localize like Singaporeans, right? And that's something very difficult for them, but let me just give some idea of what they can do, right? Number one is, actually our Singapore education system is top tier, right? We rank one of the highest in Singapore mathematics. When I was in US, everybody talks about Singapore mathematics, one of the best in the world and things like that. We have got a very exciting multicultural background from different race and language whatsoever. If you were to allow your foreigner kids, okay, to grow in our Singapore education, it's quite interesting. And I think it's a lot more affordable than your expensive international school. But what I didn't realize, and some of y'all got to take note of that, is that while we Singaporeans pay actually very cheap subsidized rate, right? Hey, these guys pay a lot even if they come and take our education system. Let me show you. This is a chart that shows the school fees for non-Singapore students. What I didn't know, because we as Singaporeans almost pay nothing, okay? I don't even know how much my children's school fees are before university. At primary school, PRs pay about $280 a month. International student pay almost $1,000 a month. At secondary school, PR pays about $560 a month, and international student almost pay $2,000. And go to pre-U, PR pay about $600 plus a month, and then international students pay about over $2,000. Actually, I didn't know that, right? It's really very expensive. So you go to an international school, you pay maybe two plus times more, right? That's a hell lot more. But actually in Singapore, if you are not a Singaporean, I didn't know that you actually pay so high. So actually this one, we really have to appreciate the Singapore subsidized education that bring our kids up and bring us up in this way. So this is something we need to know. But the foreigners can take a lower cost if they use our education system, which I got a feeling most of them will think twice before I do it, right? Somehow when you go into a foreign country, you always think that the education system is not suitable for your children. When I was in US, all my kids study their local school. They actually got free education, because in US they was quite good. But it's true, because they study in US education system, the standard a bit lower at primary school level. Come back, well, our rigorous PSLE can die. So all my children have to level up quite a lot, throw a lot of vitamin M. It's vitamin M, money, tuition into it, right? But I'm sure they also feel the same thing, that they go back to their education system may be different. Okay, maybe, I don't know, right? But it is something they can consider if they want to lower their cost of living. This is something I cannot figure out, and some of y'all can help me think through, okay? Can expatriate accept HDB instead of condo or not? Okay, because HDB rentals is almost half of the condos, right? So let's take a look, shall we? I don't know whether you guys stay in HDB. Those people who stay in HDB, have you figured this out? There's a lot more Ang Mohs right now in HDB estate. When I say expatriate, it could be Indians, Chinese, whatsoever, but overseas people, professionals generally, there's a lot more expatriate right now in HDB estates, especially Ang Moh, because when I see a Chinese or Indian, I cannot tell whether they are from overseas or Singaporean. But when I see an Ang Moh, I know it's an Ang Moh, right? So there's a lot more Ang Mohs right now in HDB. I don't know if it's by choice or by no choice, but I think if they have a choice, they won't want to come to HDB. But that's maybe my narrow thinking. But let's take a look at the rentals difference, okay? Yishun and Serangoon and some other places, the rentals is about 3,000 to 4,000 for a 4-room flat or something like that. If you have something in the city, it will cost a hell lot more, 15,000. My goodness, this is quite big, okay? Maybe a 4-5-room flat equivalent 7,000, 6,000. So almost double, right? Almost double. So on the left here, these are somewhere in the northeast side, Rivervale, Punggol, Sengkang, 3,000 plus 4,000. Ben, you know it's a problem. Right? You put city versus non-city. That's not a fair comparison, but never mind, I'll just talk through. So if you were to look at some more HDB and if you're willing to suffer and stay in the outskirts, $3,000-4,000, you can get one reasonably big house. But if you insist that you have to rent somewhere in the city, you can go anything between 5,000, which is the moment, to $18,000 a month, which is quite a big house. But we all recognize this. It's just a lot more expensive if you want to stay in a condo, right? So I think that this is HDB again, 3,000 plus, and these are condos, 5,000-6,000, to a lot more. Generally speaking, if you're willing to accept a HDB living, which I think is quite decent, I stay in HDB, I don't have issues. Some of the Ang Mohs are staying in HDB right now. There's no reason why you need to stay in a condo. Actually, for foreigners, if you want to intermingle with locals, the HDB estates are a wonderful place you can stay. I don't think the quality is a lot lesser. I think it's a very decent lifestyle you can adopt as well. So in a nutshell, I look at the lives of expatriate in Singapore. I don't envy them. I used to look at them and say, wow, Ang Mohs, they come in and take our jobs. They take senior positions. They are CEOs, they are VPs, they are EVPs. They are really having a great lifestyle whatsoever. Actually, nowadays, I don't quite envy their lifestyle because their lifestyle is quite xiong in Singapore, no? The cost of living scare the living daylights out of them, and even me as well. I actually didn't know that their cost of living is so high. I think their lives is damn xiong lah, really damn xiong. And I think they contribute a lot to the Singapore economy. Some of you say, well, God, I think my work is the same as them. I work even harder than them. What I meant is they contribute a lot of money to the Singapore economy, right? They pay rental, all rental go to your Singapore landlords, right? Yes, they study international school. The international schools, a lot of it also go to our Singapore economy, not to mention some of the utilities, everything. So they contribute a lot to our Singapore economy. On top of that, they bring in skill set, arguable, maybe you all don't like me to say that, they bring certain skill set that maybe we don't have. They bring some experience, they bring multicultural exposure, they provide a huge diversity of skill sets, culture, language to enhance our vibrancy of our Singapore society and economy. I think on this part, there is no need for us to be bitter about them anymore. There's no need for us to be envious of them. No need absolutely to be jealous of them. I think they contribute tremendously to the pockets of Singapore economy. So I think we should be a lot more inclusive, more welcoming to them. Some of y'all don't like them, I understand. Some of y'all, cannot accept them because you feel that they take over your job, I understand. Some of them have these expatriate as your bosses and you don't like them because they're difficult to deal with, I understand. But the truth is, they are an integral part of society and they contribute a lot. Their life is not any easier, arguably, maybe even worse than ours. Let's just accept that they are an important part of our economy. And I think this one really opens up my mindset. And thanks to Jared, your video has helped me open up my mindset. For those potential expats that are coming to Singapore, I will just say this: don't come if you cannot handle the high cost of living, because it will be high for you. Don't come if you cannot accept a localized lifestyle like all of us, because your expat style of lifestyle will actually kill you in Singapore if you don't live up that kind of income. So with this, thank you, and I'll see you in a day or two.